Welcome to this month's January 23rd, Tuesday's Recreation Commission meeting. For those wishing to address the Recreation Commission on any item on the agenda or under public appearances, oral communications, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance of the City Council chambers and submit it to staff member as early in the meeting as possible. And also persons with disabilities who require auxiliary aids or services in attending or participating in this meeting should call the Department of Library and Recreation Services as soon as possible prior to the meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and if we can all rise to the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Joseph, maybe you have the roll call, please.
You may have the roll call. Commissioner Luna is absent. Commissioner Wilcox.
Present.
Commissioner Landos.
Present.
Vice Chair Sison.
Present.
Chair Pastor.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay. Next up is the approval of this evening's agenda, and may I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
I move that the agenda is, how do you say that?
Okay. Those in favor of approving this evening's agenda do say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And moving on to the director's report. Joseph?
Yes, we have a single item, and I thank you for showing up tonight. And for those of the folks out in our audience who are watching from home, I apologize for the delay in getting started. Most of you were busy at another meeting right before this meeting, so we had back-to-back meetings today, and I'll let you talk about maybe during the commissioners' reports, one of you can report out on what that meeting was about. Okay. But for tonight, our single subject is budget, and I just wanted to alert all of you. Here we are in January. Daly City, just to give you a review, operates with a 2-year budget. So our fiscal year starts July 1 and runs through June 30th. So our upcoming budget cycle will be the 2 years starting July 1, 2018 through June 30th of 2019, and then July 1, 2019 through June 30th of 2020. So we've got a 2-year budget process that we're in the process of preparing now. That's the background. So the reason I wanted to bring it up for discussion is, as you probably know, Daly City is struggling mightily, going back to 2008 and the Great Recession, and the huge number of foreclosures really impacted not only property values but caused a huge dip in our property tax. And Daly City is very reliant on property tax and sales tax as its two chief revenue sources to provide all the services that the city does, from police, fire, streets, traffic signals, stormwater, libraries, recreation. The main sources of funding are sales tax and property tax, and those were very volatile during the recession, and we saw a big dip in our revenues, and we downsized quite a bit over the ensuing years. So our department, Library and Recreation, shrunk quite a bit during the recession, and we never quite rebounded. And in fact, you could argue the city never made a full recovery, despite the fact that the economy appears to be booming. If you look at the Dow Jones averages, if you look at the real estate prices today, Daly City always tends to lag a little bit behind the area. And in fact, property tax numbers were released, and it's good news. Finally, we're starting to bounce back. And off the top of my head, I want to say Daly City's share of property tax is over $33 million now, which is an improvement from where we had been. Mm-hmm. But it's only a fraction of a $72 million or so general fund operating budget. So we're not swimming in money like some of the cities surrounding us, where the property values have really skyrocketed and the properties have turned over, and they're swimming in property tax money, sales tax money, and some of them have other parcel taxes that support specific services. We don't have that in Daly City. We tried a year ago on Measure V to get some parcel tax funds specifically for public safety, and that didn't succeed. So we're really limited on our revenue sources. So that's kind of the backdrop of where we're headed into this budget cycle. And with all of the projections of what the city's overall expenditures will be for the coming fiscal years, there's a gap. There's a gap between the revenues and the expenditures. And by the nodding heads, it's the expenditures are winning that battle. So to bridge that gap, we've been directed as the Department of Library and Recreation Services to propose cuts totaling $269,000, which is a pretty good bite out of our budget. I mean, that represents a couple full-time people. And the good news is we're not contemplating layoffs. You know, our staff has shrunk so much in the last 5 years. I mean, just to give you an example, our admin staff used to have 8 full-time clerical positions, accountants and administrative assistant types. We have 3 today, so that's from 8 to 3 is a giant reduction. We've also reduced the number of positions in recreation program supervisors. We've had a couple positions that just, as retirements came or people left for other jobs, the positions were just held vacant and never full. So we've got overall a smaller workforce today than we had in the not too distant past. All of that cutting, and we still have a deficit. So our challenge is, how do we make up $269,000? And the strategy we have going into it is primarily not to just whittle away more programs. You know, certainly Chair Pastor has seen a lot of programs that were once thriving are gone now. I mean, flag football comes to mind. That was the most recent one that we had eliminated. So we want to keep what we have. But the way to make up the gap is the strategy we're probably going to employ over the next few months is revenue enhancement or fee increases, to be more blunt about it. And I think it's right. Right now, we've been very competitive or below market in most of the programs. Our most popular program in terms of registrations and revenue is aquatics and swim lessons. We're below what most of the surrounding communities are charging for swim lessons. And we have, I think, a really quality product, which is why it's full all the time. We have one swimming pool, and when we open registration, it's chaos, everyone trying to get those limited spots. So we have a great program, and we're offering it at a lower price than most of our neighbors. So that's one of the areas we're targeting, and we'll come back to you with more specifics. But the ballpark we're looking at now, we're about $53 for the lessons, probably bumping it up to $60 in hopes that we don't chase people away. We want to make it an affordable service. We want kids to learn how to swim, but we need to be a little bit more conscious in the cost recovery, because all of the programs we do for youth and seniors, without an exception, all of them are subsidized by the city. And so if there's an opportunity to lessen the subsidy, we're looking at that. One of the other areas we're looking at very closely is we rent a lot of our facilities, from the gymnasiums, the clubhouses, the community centers, the athletic fields, and a lot of our rates are much lower than some of what the going rate is, and the demand is huge right now. And there's been a shift, and this is another thing that, if you've been paying attention over the last 10 years, and I've talked to you about this dynamic within the Bay Area, where more and more kids are getting involved in these very expensive AAU club teams, and they don't have home facilities, so they come to places like us and rent. And they're not giving their kids and their club teams and AAU teams a break on the fees they're paying. It's, believe me from experience, it's outrageous. So we're thinking, they should be paying a little bit more for gym time and field time. So we actually have a pretty good list, or a spreadsheet of what the going rate is around the area, and we're at market for a lot of our like for party rentals and stuff, but on the athletic side, we're way below the market. And for example, if you've ever been to CYO Ceremony Gym, anybody? It's horrible. It's not the nicest gym. It's not ours. It's on the old Ceremony High School. The hourly rate for that is $135. And we're way below that on our gym rentals. And so if that is the standard, that, people are paying $135 an hour for a very kind of worn down gym, our facilities are much nicer and going for less. So that's another area we're looking at to increase some fees. We're open to suggestions too. We don't want to really encroach too much on senior fees and programs. A lot of their programs are kind of drop in, and there's definitely a large subsidy there too, but we're thinking some of the other areas that, that affect users that are taking advantage of our generosity, kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Well, we're in January now. The budget probably will be presented to the City Council late May or June. And it's usually adopted in June, and the fiscal year would start July 1. So.
For any new fees that would be in place, would start in July 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and one other thing, there was one other area. We went to online registration for our classes a while ago, and transitioned to a whole new operating system about 4 years ago now. And it's hugely successful, and in fact, 80% of our swim registration are done online, which is great because it really alleviates the long, long lines at our office. But one of the downsides of that are the bank fees are really big that we absorb. So last fiscal year, out of our department, we paid $103,000 in bank transaction fees. So it's $103,000 for the bank credit card bank fees.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. Oh my goodness.
It is, and if you do any online transaction these days, the fees, they're usually a flat fee. Like if you're gonna get concert tickets or tickets to a sporting event, sometimes you're paying $50 for a ticket and $25 for a handling fee. What we're proposing is a modest transaction fee of $2, so that every online transaction.
Okay.
And that would only begin to offset. We don't anticipate we're going to generate $100,000 on that, probably in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. But again, anything we can do to help cost recovery is what we're determined to do. Not eliminate staff, not eliminate programs. So that's another thing. We had talked about it once before, and kind of we wanted to get a wait and see and get some real data, because at the time we talked about it was when we implemented the active iPlay online registration. So we underestimated through the vendor, the estimates that we were going to pay were about half of what we're actually paying. So that's another area we're looking at introducing a brand new fee. That's it in a nutshell. I'm open to questions, discussions, suggestions.
Well, I think we're in the right position to do that, knowing that we've had some upgrades and new facilities like the Bayshore Library facility, War Memorial, and places like that that have made themselves state-of-the-art.
And the $1.3 million turf field at Gellert.
Yeah, right. So I think it's about time that we take a look at bringing ourselves in line, or maybe enhance that line to keep the programs going for those who wish to participate, and still for those who are on that borderline of fee, being able to pay those fees, still be able to create some kind of a rescue fund to help those folks.
We do have a scholarship fund.
Yeah.
It is usually depleted every year, but we do have people that take advantage of it now.
Right. So I'm in line to further discussion on those ideas of fee and participation in rental
between
fees,
now and our next meeting, if you get a brainstorm and the light goes on and, oh, what if we do this? Yeah, by all means, bring it back.
Okay, great. And any other questions for Joe on this?
Were there any other programs other than swimming, like summer camps and any other programs?
That's a great point. And we've already adjusted fees on both our after-school program and our summer youth recreation program, SYRP. So we did raise both of those already. That's in place. But we're looking at everything.
They're
and in
very
fact,
affordable.
There's one school of thought that rather than scrutinize everything, we should raise everything by the same percent. I think we've got enough data to have some basis for the increases rather than just tie it to the consumer price index or something. We want to be a little bit more thoughtful about it. In the end, I might be overruled. I don't know, because I know there's another school of thought that, no, you need to raise everything across the board. But that's not the approach I would recommend doing. So we've raised after school, we've raised summer youth recreation program, and we're looking at some facilities. We're looking at the aquatics programs.
And the, facilities rental are for organizations, and we don't do private rentals in our facilities, right? Like birthday parties and that kind of thing.
We actually, birthday parties at the swimming pool are quite popular.
It seems they would be.
And it's funny, when that rate was set, we were higher than the market. And so we weren't having very many. As the market caught up with us, now it's in high demand. So I think that one's probably at the sweet spot, and we maybe ratchet it a tiny bit up, but the last time we raised it so high, people stopped coming. And another fatality of rate increases, we used to have an adult softball league. The fees were raised so high that the players just stopped. So that league withered and died.
Yeah.
And we don't want to take that approach where we just kill programs by raising the fees higher than people are willing to pay. So finding that magic number that is still reasonable and a value for the customers is what we're trying to do. We're obviously not making a profit. We're, like I said, we subsidize everything.
I seem to recall that when we did take on those private parties rentals, that either part of our staff in the recreation group took on the auxiliary items like balloons, decorations, setups, what have you, in terms of picking up additional fees for that rental property to do. Is that something that
we currently don't have that, and probably don't have the capacity within our existing staff structure to do that.
Okay. Just a thought.
It's hard enough decorating for our own events. And in a sort of roundabout way related to this, and I know we've talked about it before, but I wanted to give you an update. We've talked about the Parks Master Plan undertaking. My understanding that the City Council will award a contract at their next meeting, which is February 12th.
Yes.
And so once that contract's awarded, hopefully the vendor or the consultant will hit the ground running, and you'll definitely know, because I think all of you play an important role in developing a Parks Master Plan, along with a broad range of stakeholders. So if there's somebody out there that has an interest in our parks and facilities, we've got representatives tentatively lined up from the tennis community, the pickleball community, soccer community, the dog walking community, seniors, and you guys. So.
Good. Well, would we have any other questions along those lines for Joe's report that he presented to us?
This sounds good. I'm just still brainstorming inside my mind.
Yeah.
It's just that right now.
Well, good. Well, thank you for that insight on the budget
Yeah,
situation.
and if you want a little insight too on the Parks Master Plan, either tune in to the council meeting on February 12th, or you're always welcome to come down to hear the presentation.
Make a point to come visit that one. All right, we're moving on to any commissioners' reports from our last meeting. I know that we took a little hiatus, a short hiatus in December, but welcome back everyone to this meeting to kick off the new year. But anything that anyone wants to bring to the table at this point for a commissioner's report? If not, we can move on to announcements.
Okay. I think it would be nice if somebody reported out on the street fair meeting.
Okay.
So we were discussing having a street fair, and we were just looking at timeline and potential location, and just brainstorming all of the moving parts and how to leverage all of our sort of resources and people who have put on similar events successfully, and how to represent all of the different communities in Daly City and make it a really fun, successful time.
Yeah. And to add on that, once the group gets committees established, the community is welcome to participate on those committees to help have this multicultural fair event a success. So it'll be open up for all of Daly City to, where they can, participate in the organization of this event through various committees. Okay.
I just came back. I've been in a long travel, and also just I had some personal situations to go take care of, and that was it. I did get to watch the YouTube recreation meetings, and Happy New Year, everyone! And I will be coming back here again to Daly City. So great to see everyone.
Good to see you too. All right. Well, that said, we do have a few announcements coming up, and the first announcement is occurring on February 5th, a Monday. That's our 26th annual Black History Month celebration. Will be held at the Serramonte Library at 40 Wembley Drive. That's Serramonte parking lot area. It's a free event between 5 and 7:45 p.m. And more information on that will be posted on the Daly City website. And also, supporters of the Dolger Inc. Crab Feed is coming up on February 10th, 2018. That's a Saturday at the Cafe Dolger. That's within the Westlake Park area. And there will be 2 seating times, at 12 p.m. in the afternoon and a 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And it's $45 for members of the supporters of Dolger Inc. or $50 for non-members. So if you're indulging on crab, like most of us are, that's a nice event to participate in. And lastly, the 13th Annual Women's History Month celebration occurring March 1st this year on Thursday night. And that's at the Daly City Hall Rotunda right here in this building at 90th Street, 333 90th Street. And it's between 5:30 in the evening and 8:45 p.m. And it's also a free event. Cool. And being that we do not have any cards for participation from our audience.
We do.
We do? Okay.
No cards.
Come on up and
up.
introduce yourself, please.
Frosty Fest. I know that here we are in 2018, but I want to say that Frosty Fest was a great event. I saw the chair there, and we had a really good time, and all the aides that in the afternoon that made the different booths, and Santa Claus and the children. It was just like very vibrant. And even though all the events are good, it seems like this one was just spectacular. I don't know how the way they do the decorations or whatever it was. So it was fantastic. The Mayor Justin Manalo was there, and some of the commissioners, Christina Luna, and all the great neighbors came with the children. And I know that Chair could probably commented on as well. But I really thought it was spectacular. They had bicycles they were giving out. And I don't know where the bicycles came from, but they went very fast. And so it was nice to see all the children happy and innocent, and you guys created a really wonderful, safe place for them. And I know that Mr. Curran and the department really, and commissioners and everything, they worked really hard for these things. And to see that generation, a lot of positive activity, it was fantastic, really fantastic.
Fantastic. Hey, do us a favor for the viewing audience. Can you announce your name, please, for us?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm Pamela DiGiovanni. I'm chair of the Planning Commission.
Great. Thank you. Thank you,
And
Pam.
a community member, most importantly.
Hey, there you
But I
go.
thank you for all that. It was great. It's
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, following up on that too, I would be remiss if I didn't extend a special thanks to David Zetzer, because his team really,
Okay, he was great.
he did all the work to make
Wow.
Frosty Fest what it was.
Just to expand on what Pam shared, those bikes extended from one end of the stage to the other end. So I think there was about 30 bikes that were distributed that day. So all different colors too for everyone. And that concludes our presentation for this evening's recreation meeting. And do I have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting?
Motion approved.
Those in favor of this meeting being adjourned, do say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.